Hey guys, Mr. Middleton here. Today we're going to talk about slope. At the end of this video, you should be able to find the slope of a line from a variety of given information. Okay, so slope is just rate of change without a label. Okay, we've just talked about rate of change. We saw how that was the change in the y over the change in the x. And we had units and all that stuff. Well, slope is that way, except we just do it on the coordinate plane, which typically doesn't have a label. So we can do the same thing. Slope is change in y value over the change in the x value. You might have seen that referred to as rise over run. How much does the line rise over how much does it go to the right and left? Okay. When the line goes up, it's positive rise. When it goes down, it's negative rise. When the line goes to the right, it's positive run. And when it goes to the left, it's a negative run. So up, positive rise, down is a negative rise. Okay, so those are some of the signs and symbols we have to kind of deal with here. Okay, so let's talk about finding the slope between 2 points. If the temperature outside was 45 degrees and it's now 58 degrees, what was the change in temperature? Okay, well, you'd say temperature went up 13 degrees, so plus 13. Okay, and that's just finding the change between 2 points, or two numbers, two figures. If I have two coordinates, 2 points, x1, y1, and x2 and y2, what is the change in each coordinate? When you answer this question, you're finding the slope. So notice here, well, here's our formula for finding the slope. We can say, okay, how much does the y change? So I'll do y2 minus y1. That's what we had to do up here. We had to do 58 minus 43, right? Or sorry, 45 to get 13. It was positive 13. Okay, so that's what we'll do here. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, please don't get these numbers, these subscripts, confused with exponents. This is just a way for us to name the coordinates. This is the y coordinate from the second point. This is the y coordinate from the first point. X coordinate from the second point minus the x coordinate from the first point. Okay? So this is our formula. We're going to find how much does the y change over how much does the x change. Another way of writing the formula, you could have y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Okay? In other words, it doesn't matter which point you start with. It doesn't matter what you call point 1, it doesn't matter what you call point 2, but you must be consistent. Okay, so the thing that I'm going to point back to, consistent, if I can spell that. The thing that I'm going to point back to is I want you to notice that here we started with the 2's. Okay, the y from the second point, the x from the second point started. Okay, here we started with the 1's, the y from the first point, the x from the first point. Okay, that's the only thing that really matters. Everything else, whichever order you do it in, doesn't really matter, but you do need to always start with the same point. Okay, so let's find the slope here between 3, 5, and 9, 8. So our formula, and you can do this if you feel like, hey, this is going to be a good idea, to just write your formula down and then plug in your numbers as they go. Okay, a lot of people find it helpful, especially for that first day, to label everything. Okay, and the reason that you would do that is because then you can go back and say, okay, where was I wrong? What numbers did I not follow? So y2 minus y1, that's 8 minus 5 over x2, which is 9, minus x1, 3. Okay, so notice I'm getting these points from the points that are given, y2, 8, y1, 5, x2, 9, x1, 3. So 8 minus 5 is 3, 9 minus 3 is 6. Now after I'm done with each of those operations, I will want to try to simplify this fraction. 3 over 6 does simplify into 1/2. So my slope here is 1/2. Okay? Alright. Let's look at number 2. Alright, again, I'm going to label these points x1, y1, x2, y2. So the x from point 1, the y from point 1, the x from point 2, the y from point 2. And now, just to prove my point, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Because remember, it really doesn't matter which order you go in, but it does matter that you go that same order for the x's and the y's both. So I'm going to do y1, which was 2, minus y2. Now notice here, guys, that we're subtracting negative 8. Okay? Over x1, which is negative 3, minus x2, which is 1. Okay, so here I have this set up. We have minus negative 8. When we subtract a negative, that means that we're adding. I always like to write that out like that. So we have 2 plus 8, which is 10. Negative 3 minus 1, which is negative 4. Again, I'm going to want to simplify. And when I say simplify, we will not use mixed numbers. We will use improper fractions, which means that we'll keep it as just a fraction. No whole numbers are getting out. So I'm going to see what can I go into both of these. It'll be negative 5 over 2. Okay. And so here's our slope. Remember, our slope means our rise over run. We'll talk about this and how we can use it more in graphing, but since our rise, I made our rise negative, that means it would go down 5, and our run's positive, and to the right 2. And our slope, up here we have 1/2, that means it would go up 1 and to the right 2. Alright. One more problem on the bottom here. Please set up your slope formula, plug in your numbers, tell me what that slope is for that last problem. Alright, so that's finding slope from given 2 points. Essentially, that's what we're doing when we're finding slope from a table as well. Okay, so all that a table does for us, notice we're given this table here, negative 3, 18, negative 1, 14, 0, 12, 3, 6. What this table does for us is it gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So it gives us 4 points, but how many points do we need? 2. We only need 2 points. So which 2 points do we choose? Doesn't matter. Does not matter which 2 points we choose, guys, because just as we found for our rate of change chapter, if it's a line, the rate of change is going to be constant. Or if it's a line, another way to say this, then the slope will be constant. So it doesn't matter which 2 points we choose. So I typically like to choose numbers that I find are going to be easy, which is subjective. I'm going to pick these last 2. So I'm going to use 0, 12 and 3, 6. So I have y2, which I'm going to say 6, minus y1, 12, over x2, 3, minus x1, 0. So 6 minus 12 is negative 6. 3 minus 0 is 3. I'm going to simplify that, and I will get negative 2 over 1. Negative 2 over 1. Or I could just write -2. Okay, but with the slope, I kind of like to keep it as a fraction if possible. Try to set this up so I don't have to keep moving it. All right. Using any 2 points here, guys, find the slope of this next table, the line from that other table. All right, now finding a slope from each graph here. Now we're given a graph, and all we just have to do is find the slope. They gave us points. Sometimes they don't give us points, and we had to pick the best points to use. But in this case, they gave us points. This point's at 0, 3. This point's at 3, 1. Okay, we could take those coordinates and do the slope formula. Okay, we could. But remember that slope can also be thought of as rise over run. Okay? And so we'll use that instead of plugging in these numbers into a formula. But what I want you to notice is that as you go from left to right, the line goes down. Okay, so from left to right, you see the line falling. So that means that the slope is negative. Nice to remember that. Okay, and so what we'll do is we'll see how much does this line fall. Remember, we do rise over run. And so we say, okay, from this point to this point, how far down do we go? We went down 1, 2. So we went down -2. That's our rise. And then what's our run? Well, we'll go over 1, 2, 3. And there you have it. Our slope is -2/3. Okay. Now we still want to check to make sure that we can't simplify this. There is a possibility that we pick 2 points that aren't necessarily the closest 2 points. Okay, so if you can simplify it, always check to make sure you can simplify it before you move on. But here's our slope. All right. In graph 2, have our points here: -1, -1, at 0, 1, and at 1, 3. Okay, in graph 2, as you go from left to right, the line goes up. And so that means the slope is positive. So the slope, we go up 1, 2, over 1. So our rise is 2, and that's positive. And we go to the right 1. And so that's positive. So our slope would be 2 over 1, or you could just write 2. Now what I want you to notice here, guys, if I chose to go from this point to this point, and we said what's our rise and our run, from one point to the next I could go down 1, 2, 3, 4, could go down 4, and then over to the left 2. Remember, left is negative as well. And so -4 over -2 would still simplify to give us +2 over 1. So again, it doesn't matter which points I choose. If I do the rise of a run and I simplify my slope, I'll get the same answer. Okay. All right. I'm going to highlight these lines just so we can make sure that we see them and talk about vertical and horizontal lines. Nope, that's not the line. That's the, sorry. So that's why I highlighted it, because I didn't want to mess up, but now I did. Okay. So look at these vertical and horizontal lines. Write any 2 points from the red. Oh, I should have used green. Sorry, guys. I'm going to use green here. Green. Green. Alright. Pretend I did that right the first time. Alright. So, write any 2 points from the red line. So, I'm going to highlight a couple points. I'll do this easy one here at 0, 3. And I'll do another one here at what will be 4, 3. Alright. So, the 2 points here, 0, 3. 4, 3, let's find the slope. So y2, which is 3, minus y1, which is 3, over x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 0. So 3 minus 3 is 0, 4 minus 0 is 4, 0 over 4 is 0. Okay? Now we're going to write any 2 points from the green line, which I messed up here, guys, but here it goes. So we're at negative 1, 0, and at negative 1, 2, the point that we'll use. Okay, so negative 1, 0, negative 1, 2, and then we'll do our same thing. So y2, which is 2, minus y1, which is 0, over x2, which is negative 1, over x1, which is negative 1, so minus negative 1. So 2 minus 0 is 2. Negative 1 minus negative 1 or plus 1 is 0. Okay, if you type this into your calculator should say domain error or input error, something like that. Okay, you cannot divide a number by 0. Okay, it's impossible. It's saying put two things into groups of 0. It'll never even out. So this is what is called an undefined slope. Okay, and all horizontal lines and all vertical lines will have the same slope. So all horizontal lines will have a slope of 0. All vertical lines will have an undefined slope. You might hear some people say no slope, but undefined slope. Okay, so you got a couple problems here, guys. Find the slope given the table here, and then find the slope given these 2 points on the front. All right, see ya.